I swear, if that smug prick had opened his mouth one more time, I probably would have shattered his jaw so bad he'd forget how to grin. We were at some fancy dinner I never even agreed to. Had no clue it was a setup, an ambush, dressed up with candles and overpriced wine. And there he was, Dylan Harris, the guy my wife kept calling her work friend, already sitting there when I showed up, wearing this tight black shirt like he was modeling for some meathead gym ad, smirking like he owned the damn restaurant. And Olivia, my wife, sitting right beside him, laughing way too hard at his dumb jokes, her hand way too close to his leg. She told me we needed to talk, something serious, over dinner. I thought maybe, just maybe, she wanted to fix things between us. Turns out, I was dead wrong. Nathan, she said with that soft, fake sweet tone, gesturing to the empty chair across from them. This is Dylan. I've mentioned him from work. Yeah, she'd mentioned him all right. Too many times. The mentor. The motivator. The guy who just understands her. Should have seen it coming. I pulled out the chair, forced a smile that felt like sandpaper on my face, but under the table, my fists were already clenched tight. Then Dylan leaned in, locked eyes with me like we were reenacting some kind of Wild West standoff. I'll keep it simple, he said, all smooth and rehearsed. You've got two choices, Nathan. Walk away quietly, or face me like a man. Olivia didn't even blink. She smiled. Just smiled. And right then, my ears started ringing. Everything else went quiet except for the rush of blood in my head. I replayed his words. Walk away quietly, or face me like a man. Like I was just gonna back down. Let him have my life. My wife. Just smile, tip my hat, and walk out so he could slide in like the replacement husband. I took a breath, forced a grin, stared him dead in the eyes, and said, You want to keep your teeth, or should I scatter them like dice? Then I stood up and wiped the table clean, using his face. Dishes crashed. Wine sprayed like blood across Olivia's white dress. People screamed. He tried to get up, but I knocked him right back down with one solid punch. Every late night, every cold shoulder, every moment I felt like a ghost in my own home came out in that swing. Olivia was shrieking, grabbing my arm, trying to pull me off them. Nathan, stop. You're embarrassing me, she shouted. Embarrassing her. That's what she cared about. After dragging me out to a public restaurant just to dump me like some used napkin in front of her new boy toy. Security rushed in. They yanked me out of there, blood on my shirt, glass in my hands. Dylan was still on the floor, gasping for air. His alpha male act bleeding out onto the fancy marble tiles. I stood outside, in the cold, just watching the doors slowly close behind them. And you know what? I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt quiet, hollow. Like I had finally seen the truth for what it was. She hadn't brought me there to talk. She brought me to lose. That wasn't the beginning of anything. It was the finale. She had written the whole damn script, played her part, and I was just the idiot who showed up on stage without a clue. There was a time Olivia looked at me like I lit up the night sky. Now she was giggling at my pain over a bowl of lobster bisque. But that night didn't break me. It woke me the hell up. Because one thing was clear. This story wasn't over. When I got back home, the whole place felt different. Not the furniture, not the decor, just the energy. Like someone had shifted the soul of the house. Her perfume was still in the air, but it wasn't just hers anymore. There was something else. A different scent. Stronger. Muskier. Arrogant. I walked straight into the bedroom. The bed was made, like, perfectly made. Tucked corners, like a hotel. Olivia had never made the bed like that. I sat on the edge, my palms still burning from punching Dylan, my mind buzzing like a swarm of bees. That scene kept looping in my head. His smug little stare. Her smug little silence. The glint of satisfaction in her eyes as they dragged me out. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from her. You didn't have to do that. Not, are you okay? Not, can we talk? Just that cold, pointed sentence. Like it was my fault for reacting to their little performance. That was the switch. Right there. I stood up and started digging. Not because I was suspicious anymore. I already knew. I just needed proof. Something I could hold in my hands. First stop, the closet. Nothing stood out until I spotted a pair of heels tucked in the back. Red. Pricey. Ones I'd never seen before. Olivia hadn't worn heels around me in months. Next, her vanity. I picked up her tablet. She never locked it. Thought I trusted her too much to check. She was wrong. The very first photo made my stomach drop. There she was, barely dressed, taking mirror selfies in some hotel I'd never been to. Dated last weekend. She told me she was at Zoe's baby shower in Bellevue. One swipe later, there he was, Dylan, shirtless, brushing his teeth in the background. My throat tightened. My chest felt like it was caving in. There were more. Videos. Voice messages. His voice, low and smug, calling her my little secret. Her laughing like a teenager. She called him Daddy in one of them. I nearly threw the tablet through the wall. They were mocking me. Straight up. In one message, she told him, he still thinks we're just going through a rough patch. Per baby. Per baby. That one hit harder than any punch I threw that night. Suddenly, everything made sense. The late-night meetings. The girls' nights that never included a single friend. The new interest in makeup and tight dresses when I couldn't get her to wear sweatpants for a movie night. The cold shoulders. The blank stares. The excuses. She left months ago. She just didn't bother to tell me. I was nothing but background noise. A body in the house. Next morning, she strolled in like nothing had happened. Hair tied up, sipping her coffee, scrolling her phone like she didn't blow our lives apart 15 hours ago. I sat at the dining table, watching her. Just watching. She looked up. What? I didn't say a word. Just slid the tablet across the table. Opened to the messages. Her fingers froze. She stared at the screen, then slowly raised her eyes to meet mine. And you know what she said? Why were you snooping through my stuff? Not I'm sorry. Not even a pathetic excuse. Just straight to blame. I leaned in. You lied to me. For months. Gaslit me into thinking I was crazy. You humiliated me in public. You brought that clown into our lives and treated me like garbage while you snuck around. And now you're mad I found out? She shrugged. You've been boring for a long time, Nathan. You stopped trying. I needed to feel something again. My jaw locked. And this is what you landed on? A human protein shake with a vocabulary of 10 words. She smirked. At least he listens. At least he makes me feel like I'm not wasting my best years waiting on someone who'll never change. That was the moment it hit me. She never loved me the way I loved her. What she loved was the image of me. The reliable guy. The one who paid the bills and built the life she wanted. But once the routine settled in, once the newness wore off and I got comfortable being stable, she got bored. I didn't yell. Didn't argue. I just stood up, walked into the bedroom, and started pulling clothes out of drawers, shoving them into a duffel. She followed me, arms crossed. You're just gonna leave? That's it. I zipped the bag and didn't even look at her. You already left. You just didn't say it out loud. As I stepped into the hallway, she muttered something under her breath. I stopped. What did you say? She looked me dead in the eyes, cold, unapologetic. You were never man enough for me. I didn't answer. Didn't give her the satisfaction of a reaction. I just walked out the door with my bag slung over my shoulder, leaving behind the woman I once thought was my forever in a house filled with lies. But even then, I knew I wasn't done. Not yet. That night, I moved into a short-term rental. For plain walls. No memories. No lingering scent of her perfume. Just space and silence. But that silence? It was deafening. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Heard that laugh. That smug little grin she wore while Dylan made his power move at the dinner table. The way she looked at me like I was some mosquito circling her wine glass. I kept replaying those recordings. Her voice didn't even sound like the woman I married. That version of Olivia used to talk about forever, about dogs and kids and building a life. This version whispered things to Dylan that made my skin crawl. She laughed at my texts, mocked my routines, said I was too soft, too predictable. She actually told him I was the kind of guy who'd die paying someone else's mortgage. And he replied, good. Let him. It wasn't just betrayal. It was dehumanizing. For 3 days, I ignored her calls and texts. Not a single, I'm sorry, came through. Just messages like you overreacted, or we're adults, let's handle this maturely, and let's talk terms. She was already trying to negotiate the end like it was a real estate deal. No remorse. No emotion. Just spreadsheets and closure. On the 4th day, she showed up at my door. I opened it, and there she stood, dressed down like some innocent version of herself. Sweater. Jeans. No makeup. Like she was trying to rewind the clock and pretend she was still the girl I proposed to on that foggy beach in Monterey. Can we talk? She asked. I stepped aside. Let her in. She sat down, crossed her legs like she was running a damn board meeting. Cool. Calm. Detached. You've had your tantrum, she said. Now we need to figure out what's next. I leaned back against the counter. You're acting like you didn't just blow our entire life to pieces. She gave a little sigh. It wasn't working, Nathan. You were distant. You didn't see me anymore. I let out a bitter laugh. I saw you every damn day. I was trying. You just checked out. And instead of speaking up, you went and found some bicep-flexing caveman and handed him what you swore was mine alone. She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. It wasn't some calculated plan. No, I asked, stepping forward. Then explain the hotel receipts. The lingerie I never saw. The videos on your tablet. Explain why he was so sure of himself he thought he could tell me to walk away from my own marriage. Her lips twitched. You're acting like I committed some crime. No, I said quietly. You committed a goddamn assassination. You killed the man I was. And you didn't even have the decency to bury him. That finally got her to stand up, face flushing with anger. I needed more. You didn't give it. You were just existing, Nathan, coming home, zoning out in front of the TV, being that same dependable, dull guy I married. So instead of trying to fix it, I shot back. You started cheating on me and made me feel like I was the problem. She walked to the door, shaking her head. You always had to be the victim. Maybe if you'd been more of a man, you'd still have a wife. I stepped in front of her, my voice calm but sharp. No, I don't still have a wife. I never had one. I had a leech, one that smiled while it sucked the life out of me. She turned to face me, eyes hard. You think you're the only one who suffered? I wasted years pretending I was happy. You didn't pretend, I said. You lied. And then she dropped it, just like she was talking about the weather. I've been with Dylan for 6 months. And for the first time in a long time, I feel alive. There it was. 6 months. Every kiss I thought meant something. Every night, she rolled away from me in bed. Every moment, I wondered what I did wrong. While I was planning our anniversary, she was planning hotel weekends with him. While I worked overtime, she was moaning in the back seat of my car, in my house, in my damn life. But I didn't scream. I didn't fall apart. I just nodded. Good, I said. Then you don't need to know what I did yesterday. Her eyes narrowed. What's that supposed to mean? I walked over to a drawer, pulled out a folder, and dropped it on the table. Thick. Inside were bank statements, screenshots, transaction histories from our joint account, hotel bills, a copy of her conversation with Dylan about stashing assets away. I had a friend help me, a former cop who owed me a favor, someone who didn't ask questions. Olivia went pale. Nathan, what is this? I looked her in the eye. Proof. I'm filing for divorce. And I'm taking everything I legally can. And when your protein shake boyfriend finds out what it's like to mess with a quiet man who got pushed too far, well, I hope he's still smirking. She reached for the folder. I snatched it back. We're done. Leave. Her lips trembled. First time I saw any real fear in her face. But it was too late for tears. Too late for guilt. I had found the truth. And the man I used to be. The one who trusted without hesitation, who waited around hoping love would circle back. He died at that table in the restaurant. What stood in his place now? Someone new. Someone clear-eyed. And far from finished. 3 days later, Dylan showed up at my job. Bold move. Classic alpha stunt. He was parked outside the garage, leaning against his blacked-out Charger like he was auditioning for a B-list action movie. Same sunglasses. Same smug smirk he wore the night everything blew up. He was probably hoping for some kind of man-to-man chat. Maybe offer up a half-baked apology. But the second I saw him, my blood lit up like it hadn't since those high school fights behind the bleachers. Nathan, he called, like we were old friends. I didn't answer, just kept walking. You got a second? He asked, stepping right into my path. I stopped, gave him a look. He wasn't worth the breath. But after everything, I couldn't just walk away. What do you want, Dylan? He shrugged, smooth as ever. Look, man, I didn't expect things to blow up like that. I figured she'd break it off clean. I didn't know she'd set you up with that whole dinner stunt. You figured, I repeated, letting the words hang in the air. You really thought you could just slide right into my wife's life, into her bed, and I'd just quietly fade into the background. He held up his hands. All right, man. I get it. You're pissed. But I wasn't about to let him play dumb. Let's not pretend she didn't choose this too, I said, stepping in closer. She made that call. And so did you, I added. So whatever little fantasy you had about replacing me, let it go. You're not the top dog here. You're just the side act that got too full of himself. For a moment, his grin faltered. Just so you know, he said, she's thinking about moving in with me. Perfect, I said. She'll fit right in, next to your inflated ego and all those tubs of protein powder. His jaw twitched. You don't scare me, Nathan. I leaned in and spoke low. Then you're even more clueless than you look. Because you should be. His teeth clenched. This doesn't have to get ugly. You crossed that line half a year ago, I said flatly. Back when you started whispering about other options. And then I repeated it, calm, cold, like a blade slipping in. You want your teeth whole? Or in a pile on the floor? He flinched, just enough for me to catch it. Beneath all that gym muscle and bravado, there was fear. He wasn't built for chaos. He was built for selfies and likes. I turned my back and walked away, knowing that my real revenge wouldn't come from my fists anymore. Back at the rental, I flipped open my laptop and went through it all again. The paperwork, the timeline, the evidence. My lawyer had already started drafting everything, and with every new detail we dug up, her little house of lies crumbled faster. Olivia had pulled money from our joint account for weekend trips, bought that guy a watch using my card, and even tried sneaking funds under her sister's name. Sloppy, greedy. But what hit hardest wasn't the spending, it was how easily she turned. The way she could lie without blinking, beam a smile right through betrayal, and still act like I was the one who broke something. Every text I dug up, every receipt I printed, it all felt like another nail in the coffin of the woman I thought I married. That night, she called. I let it ring a few times before answering. Nathan, she said, her voice softer now. Less venom, more guilt. What? I didn't think you'd react like this. Like what? Like someone who got played? Stabbed in the back and dragged through your wreckage? I never meant to hurt you. Yeah, you did. You just didn't think I'd hit back. She didn't respond. I could hear her breathing on the other end. He's not who I thought he was, she finally admitted. I stayed quiet. I thought he'd be stronger. More protective. In other words, she expected him to shield her from the fallout. Another long pause. I made a mistake. I shut my eyes and shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. No, Olivia. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. Saying something awful during a fight. What you did. That wasn't a slip-up. That was a choice. One lie after another, week after week, bed after bed. You didn't just mess up. You built this. You just didn't think I'd tear it all down before you could finish decorating. She started to say something else, but I ended the call. I didn't need her apologies. I didn't want her guilt. I had already wasted too much time letting her bend me into someone I didn't recognize. She made me question everything, my worth, my instincts. But standing there, holding the truth in my hands and the ruins of our marriage at my feet, I felt something I hadn't in months, clarity. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about taking back my name, my peace, my damn dignity. She could keep her new guy and all his flexing. I had something better now, freedom, and I planned to use every bit of it. The divorce moved quicker than I thought it would, probably because Olivia didn't want our dirty laundry dragged through court. She tried to play it like she was the heartbroken wife, just someone who'd fallen out of love. But the second my lawyer dropped the financials and screenshots on the table, her story shifted. No tears, no shouting, just cold, calculated negotiation. She showed up to our final meeting dressed like a CEO, navy suit, no makeup, trying to look polished and professional. Like someone who definitely wouldn't be caught half-naked at a hotel on a company trip. I barely looked at her. At one point, she leaned in and whispered, "Why are you doing this? You're humiliating both of us." I kept my voice steady. "You're not ashamed of what you did. You're just upset people found out." She pulled back, narrowed her eyes, and didn't say another word the rest of the meeting. When it ended, I walked out with my pride intact and a fresh start ahead of me. She walked out with her reputation in tatters, and her boy toy waiting outside, texting her like some lost puppy. I thought I'd feel victorious. I didn't. There's no trophy for making it through betrayal. No medal for picking yourself up off the floor. Just numbness. And then the long, quiet rebuild. The nights were the hardest part. Not because I missed her, but because of the silence. The echo where her laugh used to be, even if that laugh had turned fake near the end. The bed didn't smell like her anymore. And every so often, I'd catch myself reaching for my phone to send her something dumb, before I remembered she was probably out doing God knows what with a guy who thought lifting weights made him deep. I started hitting the gym myself. Not to be like him, but because I had to sweat it out. The bitterness, the fury, the grief. It had to go somewhere. Strangest part? The more reps I pushed through, the more I started to remember the man I was before all this. Not broken, not angry, just me. One night, a buddy convinced me to come out for a drink. Said I needed to be around people again. I almost turned him down, but something told me to go. That's when I saw her. Not Olivia. Emma. Her sister. She walked in with a group of friends, froze the moment she spotted me at the bar. After a second, she made her way over. Nathan, she said. God, I didn't think I'd see you here. Same, I replied. She glanced down at her drink, then back at me. I heard everything. I'm really sorry. I gave her a nod. Don't be. You didn't betray me. She gave a sad sort of smile. I tried to stop her. You know? When I found out what she was doing, I told her it was wrong. She told me to stay out of it. That didn't surprise me at all. Emma tilted her head slightly, studying me. You holding up okay? I gave a little shrug. Some days are better than others. She leaned forward on the bar, her eyes locked on mine. You know, Olivia was always the kind who craved attention. Had to come out on top, no matter what. Even if it meant tearing something beautiful apart, she added quietly. I looked over at her. Do you think she ever really loved anyone? I mean, genuinely. Emma didn't answer right away. For a while, she just stared at her drink. Then finally, she said, only herself. And weirdly, hearing that, it helped. Later that night, I made my way home beneath a calm, quiet sky. The air felt sharp and clean, like something heavy had finally been drained out of me. It was the first time in months I smiled without faking it. Not because I'd won anything. Not because I got revenge. Just because, for the first time, I understood what peace felt like. And that feeling? Not Olivia, not Dylan, not even the echo of the man I used to be. None of them could touch it. About a week after that night at the bar, I got a message that threw me off. It was from Dylan. The first line read, I need to talk. Man to man. I actually laughed when I saw it. This was the same guy who once puffed up like a rooster and told me to back off, and now he wanted to talk like we were on equal footing. My gut reaction was to block his number. But man, curiosity's a stubborn thing. So I agreed. Neutral territory. Public place. I chose a quiet coffee shop just on the edge of town. He showed up late, moving slower than usual. Less put together. His hair looked like he'd just rolled out of bed, and he had dark circles under his eyes. That cocky spark he used to carry? Gone. He sat across from me and didn't say a word for a solid 30 seconds. Then, finally, I think I screwed up. I didn't respond. He kept going. She's not who I thought she was. I mean, yeah, she's stunning. But she's also, he paused, like the word was hiding from him. Poison. I leaned back a little. Yeah. Welcome to the club. She used to talk about you. You know. He said, like he was trying to confess something that had been eating at him. Said you didn't care. That you ignored her. That you hadn't touched her in months. I nodded slowly. And you believe that? I asked. He looked away. I wanted to. And there it was. He wanted to see me as the bad guy. Made it easier to justify stepping into a marriage that wasn't his to touch. In his mind, he was the hero, rescuing her from something cold and broken. Turns out, he was just the next chapter in the same old story she keeps writing. She's already seeing someone else, he muttered, eyes down. That one caught me off guard. Wait, she's cheating on you? He nodded. The shame on his face was so thick, it almost made me feel bad for him. Met him at her yoga class. Some dude with a boat, he said. She swears I'm imagining it. Says I'm paranoid. He shook his head. But the signs. I recognize them now. The late nights. The new lingerie. The sudden weekend trips with the girls. He finally looked up at me. Feels like déjà vu. Only now. I'm you. Part of me wanted to laugh. To say, I told you so. But honestly, I was just tired. You played your part in it, Dylan, I said, voice low. Now you get to see what it's like from the other side. He rubbed his face like he was trying to wipe away everything he'd learned. I don't think she knows how to love, he said. She doesn't, I replied. She only knows how to keep people watching. And when the spotlight fades, she moves on. He didn't say anything after that. Just sat there, lost in the wreckage he helped create. I stood up. Good luck, man. Seriously. He looked up at me, confused. You're not angry anymore? I was, I told him. But anger's heavy, and I've been carrying it long enough. As I stepped outside, the sun hit my face. Warm. Steady. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt light. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in years. I sat on my porch barefoot, bourbon in hand, with nothing but silence keeping me company. No phone blowing up. No lies twisting my gut. No mask to wear. Just me. It's strange how betrayal hits like death at first. But once the dust settles, you start to see it for what it really is, a beginning disguised as an ending. A brutal shedding. A harsh kind of rebirth. Olivia called once after the divorce papers were finalized. Left a voicemail I never listened to. The second I saw her name, I hit delete. She didn't get closure. She didn't get to have the last word. That belonged to me now. I started traveling again. Weekend drives. Trails I used to love. Hobbies I'd let fade, trying to keep a marriage alive that had been dead for a long time. I even got back in touch with my brother. We hadn't spoken in over a year. Olivia said he drained my energy. Truth was, she just hated that he saw right through her. Emma would text from time to time. Nothing deep. Just little check-ins. A joke. A meme. And I appreciated that. She never pushed. Never dug around for drama or tried to rush my healing. She just let me be. One night, she sent me a picture from an old Christmas. Me, Olivia, and the rest of the family. I stared at it for a long while. The smile on my face. The way I held her hand. I wasn't pretending. But she was. That's the part that sticks with me. The difference. I've stopped grieving what was never real to begin with. The love I thought we shared. The life I thought we were building. It was my truth, not hers. And that's okay. Because now I've got something she'll probably never understand. Peace. Ownership of my own life. A heart that didn't rot when the lies came crashing down. She's probably still out there, chasing that same old feeling. That high. That next guy to worship her, at least until he figures out what's behind that smile. But me? I'm rebuilding. One brick at a time. And this time, it's real. Months went by. Seasons shifted. I stopped counting days. I focused on the small wins. Waking up without a knot in my stomach. Eating without that bitter taste of anxiety. Sleeping through the night without hearing her lies in my dreams. Then one morning, I opened my inbox and there it was, our name again. Olivia. Subject line. Please, just hear me out. I stared at it for 5 minutes before I opened it. Nathan. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from. I wouldn't be reaching out unless it truly mattered. I messed up. I get that now. Dylan is gone. He left after I found out he'd been cheating. And now, I'm just alone. I've had time to think. About everything. About us. About what I did. I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to know, I was lost. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I just wanted to feel something again. And looking back, the only time I ever felt seen was when I was with you. You were always there. Maybe I didn't see it then. Maybe I was too blind to understand what I had. Can we talk? Just once? Please. Livy. I read it once. Then again. And then I deleted it. No reply. You know what the truth is? She never really wanted me, not the real me, anyway. She wanted the version of me who hadn't figured out how to live without her yet. The guy who used to bend over backward, shrink himself down, and give up pieces of his own peace just to keep her smiling. But that man? He stopped existing the day she chose to humiliate me in front of everyone, treating me like I was just some weight she couldn't wait to drop. What she really missed wasn't me, it was the sense of security. The loyalty I gave her without question. The comfort of knowing someone was always going to be there to clean up the emotional messes she made. No, she didn't miss me. She missed being adored. That's the key difference. And by the time she realized that, I had already started seeing someone else. Her name was Sophia. We crossed paths by total accident in a little bookstore. I dropped a copy of The Stranger by Camus. She picked it up, glanced at the cover, and said, "Heavy choice for someone with such kind eyes." We ended up talking for over an hour right there between the shelves. Then came coffee. Then long walks. Then, nothing for a little while. I wasn't ready to rush into anything. I was still healing. I told her that straight up. Her response? Good. Scars mean you're working through it. She never pushed. Never pried. She just showed up. Steady as anything. Real. Warm. With Sophia, everything felt natural. I didn't have to put on a show. I didn't need to constantly prove I was worth sticking around for. She didn't ask about Olivia all that much. Just once, actually, when she noticed how tense I got after a message from that name popped up on my screen. "You don't owe me the story," she said gently. "But if one day you want to share it, I'll be here to listen." And eventually, I did. It was on a quiet Sunday. Rain tapping soft against the windows, her hand resting in mine. I told her everything, not because I was looking for pity, but because it finally felt safe to let it go, to let it breathe and fade away. Sophia didn't interrupt or try to fix it. She just listened. And when I was finished, she said something that stuck with me. "That was never about you." That was her broken reflection, trying to find a mirror. That line dug in and stayed. One night not long after, I found myself driving past the old house. The one we shared, back when it still felt sacred, like it meant something. It looked smaller now. Dim. Empty. The yard was a mess. Shutters all crooked like even the house had given up trying to look like it used to. I didn't stop. Just drove on by. And I smiled. Not because I was trying to be spiteful. Not because I came out on top. But because I made it through. Olivia used to say I was too soft. That I couldn't handle chaos. That I'd fall apart without her. But here I was, still standing. Marked up. Yeah, but not broken. The storm rolled through. And it didn't ruin me. It cleared the fog. Let me see the world sharper. I walk with more strength now. I laugh more fully. There's something strange and beautiful about losing it all. It teaches you to value what's real. Like mornings with hot coffee and no lies. Like quiet nights next to someone who speaks softly and means what they say. I've learned that love, real love, doesn't show up wearing drama like a badge. It arrives calmly, stays steady, and doesn't run when things get hard. That evening was cool, the kind of night where the sky turns deep blue and the air smells like something new beginning. I sat on the balcony of my new place. Smaller than the old house, sure, but it had more heart. Sophia was inside, barefoot in the kitchen, humming and dancing to a tune only she could hear. I watched her through the glass for a while, and something deep inside me just settled. Peace. Not the fake kind where you pretend things are okay. The real kind. The kind you earn after dragging yourself through fire and coming out the other side still holding on to who you are. My thoughts drifted to Olivia again, not often anymore, just every now and then. Like a dream you barely remember, blurry and strange. With little flashes of hurt that don't really sting anymore. She'd become just a name in a chapter that's closed. And Dylan? Just a side note. A lesson, maybe. I learned that love without respect is just a slow poison. That loyalty without truth is a cage. And that some people don't know how to give, only take, until you forget who you even are. But I also learned that getting through betrayal doesn't make you bitter. It makes you alert, wiser, and more thankful for gentleness when it finally comes back around. Sophia came outside and wrapped herself in a blanket, resting her head on my shoulder. "You okay?" she asked. I gave her a small nod. "Yeah, just thinking about her," I said after a pause. Then I smiled. "And about how far I've come." She didn't push for more. She didn't have to. Some things don't need rehashing. They just need to be understood and then left where they belong. I looked out at the horizon, and it hit me. This new chapter had already begun. No fireworks. No grand gestures. Just truth. If I could go back and talk to the man I used to be, that guy sitting at a restaurant table, watching his life fall apart, I'd tell him this. You're not going to break. She'll try to make you believe you weren't enough. That it was all your fault. But it wasn't. You were the steady hand. The heart. The soul of it all. And when she walked away, thinking she was running towards something better, she was really just running from her own reflection. Let her go. Heal. Become. And when love comes around again, real love, it'll be calm, soft, constant. And you'll know it's real because it won't have to hurt for you to feel alive. Sophia gave my hand a gentle squeeze. I looked over at her, and for the first time in a long, long while, I saw it. Home. And I said it out loud, like it was the first time I truly believed it. I'm happy. And this time, I meant every word. Dear viewer, thank you for your invaluable viewing. We will be very grateful for your likes, subscriptions, comments, and sharing our story. See you soon.